Yeah, baby! That's what I've been waiting for. That's what it's all about. What's up, everybody? I'm back to a brand new video, and today is a good day. It's always a good day when stuff like this happens. It's so good, right? It's so good to finally have something. I don't need a full trailer. I can wait until December 10th, hopefully. I'm just happy to have what we have. And I'm happy because from what I've heard, I should be able to get away with posting this footage and not getting in trouble. If I get in trouble, what the f? I shouldn't get in trouble. This was shown in a live stream. I shouldn't get in trouble for showing this when you've already put it on the internet yourselves. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's jump into the news. Well, starting out, we got something little. Godzilla Vs Kong has a new logo. This is from HBO Max. This new Godzilla Vs Kong logo just says Godzilla Vs Kong in the same font that we've seen, but now the color palettes are a little different. Rather than the logo we saw in the HBO Max teaser, this one's just kind of like blended into the text itself. I think it looks really clean, really nice. The blues turning into the oranges, pretty good. I actually wish the V was blue, but you know what? That's nitpicking right there. This is fine. I enjoy this. So Warner Bros went to CCXP this weekend today. It's still there. In fact, there might be more Godzilla Vs Kong on the way today. I would doubt it, but there's always a possibility that we'll get something. If we do, I'm not sure I'll be able to cover it because I don't have a ton of time, but if we do, hey, that's cool. We got something though. So they were at CCXP, of course. They have a 6-hour panel, which is insane. 6 hours worth of content, my lord. So they have 6-hour panel, and in that panel they showed off a promo video, and as far as I can tell, they showed it at least twice with 2 different variations. This promo video features footage, our very first footage of Godzilla vs Kong. I should say our first official footage, because of course we did have footage last year at CCXP, but that was a no-no. That was an accident, was not supposed to be shown, and it was not supposed to ever make it to the public. It was supposed to exist within the context of the convention only. But yes, they streamed and they had footage for Godzilla vs Kong, and it's okay, it's cool. It's 2 seconds. It's 2 seconds of footage. There's not a ton here, but we'll go through what is here. Starting out with Godzilla, he's the easy one. He's also the one that they show first. But yes, Godzilla is the easy one. There is much less to talk about with Godzilla. The footage of Godzilla is him underwater swimming towards the camera pretty rapidly, I might add. He's swimming pretty fast towards the camera, and then he roars while underwater. Immediately, this shot is very reminiscent of a couple previous shots from the Monsterverse. In Godzilla 2014, we saw Godzilla swimming underwater. We didn't really get a good look at his face while he was underwater, but we did get a few shots of him swimming underwater. But in Godzilla King of the Monsters, there is almost an identical shot to this of Godzilla swimming underwater, leading the charge in front of the submarine, in front of the Monarch sub, I believe. I believe he's in front of the submarine. But yeah, this is almost an identical shot to that. However, here Godzilla's looking a little revamped. This Godzilla is particularly spiky. It's the same exact design from the previous films, but he looks incredibly jagged. He is super sharp. There's just angles all over him. He's like the Transformers in the live action movies when they just wound up being a bunch of different shards. This Godzilla is very spiky. He looks a little more intimidating with all the spikes. That's probably the point. I like the power that he has. You know, he is underwater, but when he roars, he just causes this like massive water burst to explode. Pretty cool. What is he roaring at? I don't know. Why would Godzilla be roaring at something underwater pretty aggressively? My guess is that this is going to be kind of like a Millennium Godzilla era moment where he's swimming really rapidly towards the camera. He's gonna roar. It's just gonna be this massive water geyser, and he's gonna launch up out of the water. That's gonna be my guess, is that he's kind of going up for a diving jump. He's gonna reverse dive out of the water. That would be my guess. But yeah, it's pretty cool. I like the details here. You can see in his mouth, you know, the teeth look great, and there's the fleshy little membrane within his mouth as well, and his tongue looks cool. It all looks great. I will mention that the footage, assuming I'm able to show it, which I really hope I am. If I'm not, not, I will be putting substitute images on screen that best represent what I'm talking about. So for this, it would have to be that King of the Monsters shot. But the footage that exists, it does not exist in HD quality. So you can take the best CG in the world and put it in the 360p that we have to look at it in, and it will look bad. So I don't want anyone talking about like, oh, the CG doesn't look great. We can't really judge the CG based on these images because the quality is so low. If I had to guess, the special effects in this movie are probably going to be pretty incredible because even in this low res footage, it looks really clean. It looks really good. I like it a lot. So that'd be my guess. Now Godzilla roars at the camera again. It's like strange for him to roar underwater. I guess that means that he's definitely knows that he's approaching a predator. I'd imagine Kong is what he's swimming up on. But yeah, I like it. I like his body movements. Kind of looks like a crocodile. I really like the attention to detail here. The much more juicy and more interesting shot, and I promise you this isn't a biased statement, is Kong. I know I am Team Kong, but that's not the reason why this is such a juicy image. There's a lot going on here. Starting out, it is Kong roaring at the camera, so that's cool. They're kind of both roaring at each other, and it's edited in a way to make it look like they're looking at each other. If we are to assume this is from the same moment, I would imagine Godzilla's going to leap up out of the water and land in front of Kong right here, and Kong's going to be roaring at him. Now, if you will pay attention to Kong's eye line, Kong is looking upwards here, so whatever he's looking at is upwards from him. He is looking upward. I think it's Godzilla. I think he's looking up towards Godzilla. He is in front of the ocean, so it would make sense that Godzilla would be coming out of the ocean to get him here. There's so much going on in this image, though. Let's take a look at the background, just the background for now. There are boats, many boats, in fact. There are boats all around, and Kong, if you pay attention to his posture when he raises his arms, is hunched over. He's like kneeling down. So Kong's very low to the ground here, whatever the ground may be, and he's on top of the ocean. If you look in the background, it doesn't seem like there's an island nearby. There are just many boats nearby. So it seems like a vast coastline. I think they're in the middle of the ocean. And what's happening here? Well, I mean, let's put pieces together here. Let's go back to last year's CCXP. We have footage of Godzilla and Kong about to punch each other on an aircraft carrier. Now, I have heard that that shot in particular isn't actually what's going to be in the movie. It's just going to be like a representation of something that we will see in the movie. And we have seen the Playmates shot, which is a very different version of that image. Playmates gave us an HD pic of Godzilla and Kong fighting on an aircraft carrier, and if you match the two images, it matches perfectly. This background that Kong's in right now with the clouds, which by the way, the scenery looks really gorgeous here. I really like the visuals. It looks really pretty. But if you match the clouds, it matches perfectly with the scenery we saw in the Playmates box. So yes, I think Kong is on the aircraft carrier. He is of course on a boat, or at least near the water. He's either like on a coast or he's on a boat. Let's be honest, he's on a boat because there's water everywhere and it looks like he's standing on a boat. So he's on a boat, okay? I have heard, I will note, the thing that Godzilla and Kong are fighting on might not actually be an aircraft carrier. And I know we talked a lot about this last year, but it might be like the Argo of the sea, just a giant floating barge specifically designed to transport Kong to the mainland. That might be what its purpose in the movie is to transport Kong to the mainland. And if that's the case, you know, I think it's a little ridiculous and I think it's pretty absurd, and it should still sync with Godzilla and Kong both being on it. But I don't want to get into that whole discussion here, so I will just say that I will suspend my disbelief a little bit and say, sure, why the hell not? This is a movie about giant monsters and it's already absurd, and from the sounds of it, it sounds like it was written by Shinichi Sekizawa back in 1960s, who was just throwing everything at the wall and seeing what would stick from everything we've heard that's going to appear in this movie. So yeah, I guess we're going back to the 1960s in order to enjoy the physics of this film. I really like Kong's design. I will note his beard isn't as defined as I thought it would be. His beard seems shorter than it does in some of the other images, but it's still cool. You can still see the beard. His fur looks great. There's a lot of great detailing in the fur. I still love that he has the scars on his chest, and he looks just like the Kong from Kong Skull Island, but aged. His fur looks a little more shaggy and long. It looks a little less groomed and taken care of. I really like it. I think it's great, and you can see the way the wind interacts with his fur is blowing. It's good stuff. And you can also see that when he roars, he has such a powerful roar that he causes this wind to come out of his mouth. It's really cool. It's a nice detail. And inside of his mouth, there's a lot of good detailing as well with the tongue moving. I feel like I'm breaking down a toy right now, but you know, there's not a ton to talk about here. It's 2 seconds of image, so I'm going to break down every frame by frame that I can. I really like it. I like the design. I think it looks really cool. He's very recognizable, still feels like the Kong from the other film. I like the posture here as well. He feels powerful. Even though he's hunched down, he still feels very powerful. I think it's pretty cool, and he looks pretty angry by the end of the roaring image. Now, the big interesting part is if you look at Kong's neck, he has a chain around his neck. It's very King Kong 1933. You know, Kong in chains is something that we've pretty much gotten in almost every King Kong movie. In fact, the only King King Kong movie that I can think of that he doesn't wind up in chains at some point is Son of Kong. He winds up in chains in literally every other King Kong movie. He's in chains. In the 33 movie, he's in chains by the end. In King Kong Escapes, they put him in chains. In King Kong vs Godzilla, he's not necessarily in chains, but he is strapped down to a raft and he can't get up, which is exactly why I'm saying we're going back to Shinichi Sekizawa logic, is because we're throwing Kong on a raft. Having Kong in chains is just a staple of the character. He always winds up in chains. I'm fine with it here. I think it looks cool. He even wound up in chains in Kong Skull Island. He gets caught in a whole bunch of chains. So I think it's cool. They fitted him with a giant collar. Who fitted him with a giant collar? My only guess would be that Monarch did. I don't know why Monarch would want to transport Kong to the mainland. It just seems like a bad idea, but maybe Skull Island is sinking or something. I don't know. The point is somebody put him in chains, and it's probably Monarch because they're the ones who would have the funding to do this. The only other people I could think that might do this would be Jonah Allen's group, maybe as kidnapping Kong in order to get him to fight Godzilla. That seems like maybe a bit of a stretch, but maybe that's what they're attempting here. And the only other possibility is that it could be this Apex group that we don't know anything about, but I'm gonna say for now that Monarch has put him in chains and that the chain on his neck is probably supposed to tether him down to the boat that is meant to transport Kong, if we're willing to believe the rumors from last year. This giant boat that's meant to transport Kong, him being chained to it, obviously that doesn't go according to plan. Kong apparently breaks out of the chains. As we can see here, he is free, so he's gonna break out, and as far as we can tell, Godzilla's gonna show up to confront him, probably because Godzilla doesn't want this guy off the island either. So that is what I would assume is going on here, is that Kong and Godzilla are roaring at each other because Godzilla's showing up to basically send Kong back home after Monarch is, for whatever reason, trying to get him off the island. I don't know why that would be a smart idea. I will say, without spoiling anything or getting into leaks, that there is a certain spoiler element of the movie that has been leaked in figures, so we know it's coming because the figure for this character exists. So we know this character will exist within the context of the movie, and I have heard that this character's job in the film is not to be a big bad necessarily, but this character's job is specifically to be a tool to manage King Kong. And so the point of this thing is to be like a vehicle to explore maybe the hollow earth, but also to act as like a giant tranquilizer dart. It appears that it failed its job. Maybe that's what Kong is roaring at. Maybe he woke up and this thing just kind of sucks at its job, and so he sees it and he's roaring at it. From what I've heard, this thing's job is gonna be to take care of Kong, and I don't think it's going to do a great job at that. That'll probably be what knocks Kong out in the first place to get him on this boat, and probably what carries him to the boat, but he doesn't look like he stayed knocked out, as he didn't in the original film either. He woke up in 1962 as well, so I'm down for that. If I had to guess how this confrontation will play out, I think it'll be like a big, oh man, Kong dies moment, where Godzilla and Kong are going to fight on this raft. Godzilla's going to wipe the floor with King Kong, and it will like leave us thinking Kong drowned, only to reveal that Kong has either escaped into the hollow earth or Kong can just hold his breath and can swim. I think either one of those is going to be the plot twist reveal. Godzilla's going to knock Kong into the ocean, and you'll think that Kong's going to drown and die, and then like after 10 minutes it'll be revealed in the film, nah, he's fine, he's in the hollow earth and he's making his way to Hong Kong or whatever, or no, he's fine, he's swimming, he's Kong, he can swim, he's fine. That's my guess. But yeah, the point is that Kong's in chains, someone's trying to transport him, he's on a boat, or someone's trying to do something with him. Someone's trying to kidnap him, apparently. He's on a boat, and Godzilla's swimming at the camera, roaring. They're both pretty powerful roarers. I like it. There's also a secondary shot of like a really up-close look at Kong roaring. It's just his face from the mouth up. There's not a ton to say about it. It's really low quality. I like it. It looks like the Kong from Skull Island. It looks very similar to some of the shots from Skull Island. It's a cool image, and that's fine. I just know not a lot of people have talked about that particular shot. They've been too focused on the full body shots. Just because I personally don't want to make multiple videos on this topic, unless you guys have like really interesting theories that I never considered that I will bring up in another video down the line. I'm going to cover everything about the clips, so I'll mention that I really like the blue color palette for Godzilla. I think it's really awesome having him in blue. He's underwater, so of course it's going to be blue, but it contrasts nicely with Kong, who's a little more orange, so you can kind of see the color palettes of their own individual movies clashing with one another in these images alone. That's a nice touch. It's a cool detail. I like it. There are roars that play over this montage, but they're not really the roars we're familiar with. It's not like Godzilla's roar. It's kind of a Kong roar. You get like a more guttural roar that feels more King Kong-esque, and I would play it, but I'm still a little nervous about the copyright aspects of this, so I'm not actually going to play the roars. You can go look for them on your own. But they do play roars over this, and it feels a little bit like a combination between King Kong and a Muto. Do I think that means that a Muto is actually going to show up in the movie? Not at all. I just think that that's just a fun sound design thing they did to make a really cool sounding roar. Also, I think it's important to mention that if you have seen the CCXP footage from 2019, this looks vastly different from it. I think that confirms that it was just test footage, because the footage we see here doesn't look anything like the footage from last year. The color palette's completely different. Kong's design looks different. There was a close-up shot of King Kong roaring last year that doesn't get talked about as much. It wasn't the aircraft carrier shot. It was him roaring before he goes to punch Godzilla on the aircraft carrier. This shot does not match up to the current shots we have of Kong roaring at all. I don't think they take place in the same scene. I don't even think that scene exists. As I've said multiple times now, I have a feeling, and I have heard, that that was just test footage. And I think the contrast between last year's footage, which I can't show still to this day, and this year's footage just goes to show that last year's footage absolutely doesn't really reflect the final product. They are very similar shots, but they don't look the same. There's one last image here that I don't quite understand what it is. It's like 3 vehicles shooting down into an underwater lava area. Now, this doesn't have to be Godzilla vs Kong. I don't know what movie this is from, but if it is from Godzilla vs Kong, I'd assume that this is Monarch vehicles exploring the Hollow Earth. However, it could be from any movie, I don't know. This was shown in a montage of upcoming Warner Bros. Films, so this could be for any film. I don't know what this goes to, but if it is Godzilla vs Kong, that's probably what this is. It's just vehicles exploring the Hollow Earth. I will note that they don't exactly look like the HEV that we saw on the figure, so there is a figure for the Hollow Earth hovercraft vehicle that Monarch will be using. This doesn't quite look like that. It could just be a different vehicle that Monarch is using, or maybe the little toy of the HEV doesn't really represent what the final design will look like in the film, assuming this is from Godzilla vs Kong. So yes, there is Godzilla vs Kong footage. I want to give a shout out to Monster Island Buddies for posting some of the footage that I used in this video. It's the best quality footage that I could see from the film so far, and thank you to him for sharing that. And then also, shout out to his little meme. It's a good one, very classic. I like it. And that'll do it for this one, guys. A full breakdown of 2 seconds worth of footage. You definitely saw that coming, and yet you're still surprised that it took this long to break down the footage. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I will see you guys next time for the next one. D-Man out. What? You never watched my 66 years of Godzilla tribute? You know it's posted, right? I'm not supposed to give my opinion, but go check it out, and then you can tell me if you like it or not.